Alright, so Bleach Brave Souls for their 6th-year anniversary has decided to make a new version of Aizen, and I have seen a lot of chatter about how strong is this form. You know, everyone's like, he said he transcends everything. How strong is this guy? Is this the strongest version of Aizen that we've possibly seen? And I thought, as the Bleach power scaling guy, I would give it a little old look-see. You know, I'd take a look at this new version of Aizen so I could answer that question. Now, if you're not familiar, Bleach Brave Souls is a mobile game based around, well, the Bleach series, and you know, they incorporate a lot of things like the novels, the movies, filler, everything. Everything gets put into this Bleach Brave Souls game. They also make a lot of unique characters, so like say they'll make a Christmas version of Nelia where she has ice powers. Or they'll turn like Shinji into this like lightning demon, right? With like one of their unique looking characters, right? So they do a lot of really cool stuff, but for their anniversaries or like special events, they will go get the homie Kubo, and they'll ask him, can you do a design for like this what-if form of a character? And it started with the 2nd anniversary where, that you know that moment when Ichigo breaks out of his Vasto Lorde form when Ulquiorra like cuts the horn and the mask shatters, but he's still got like the white skin in one of the horns? They took that shot, and they made that an entirely unique Ichigo character, and basically what it was this controlled full hollow Ichigo form. So it's like, imagine if, like, instead of just running around and being a spurg, Ichigo was fully in control the entire time. The Bankai cloak is not torn, so he has, like, his full Bankai as well. And it was a really neat idea. So then they started compounding on top of that. For New Year's, we got a Quincy version of Ichigo, and the description was that it was an Ichigo that pursued the full extent of his Quincy abilities. We also, for the 5th-year anniversary, got a, like, full completed version of, like, Ichigo's Fullbring. It's like, what if Ichigo stayed on the path of training with his Fullbring, and that's how we got the 5th-year anniversary version of Ichigo. But you also might be familiar with the 2nd or like 3rd resurrection for a lot of the Espada. Well, for Ulquiorra, it's his 3rd resurrection. For all the other Espada, it's their 2nd resurrection. That was very popular when they were doing that. You know, you saw Ulquiorra with like the angel wings and everything, and they're like, it's 3rd resurrection Ulquiorra with like the power of a Hogyoku. Everybody else got, you know, unique, different forms. If I'm throwing my 2 cents in there, I really did like the Stark one because he had 2 different Hogyokus to represent the 2 different spirits inhabiting his body. They were very well done. But continuing on that trend, we now have the 6th-year anniversary, and they give us this new form of Aizen. Now, Bleach Brave Souls is very hit or miss when it comes to actually giving us lore for a lot of these different forms. For instance, when that 2nd anniversary version of Ichigo came out, we were expecting to get like a story event and maybe get some like extra information about the form, but all we know is that it's like a controlled form of the full hollow state, right? We don't actually know like who he fights. They don't have this like a story event where he like goes on to fight like Aizen or Gin or he fights Yamamoto. We don't get anything like that. And that was a very common trend for a lot of these things, right? For the different Espadas, when Ulquiorra first came out, there was just like this boss rush event where Ulquiorra's like, I render everything to nothingness, and that was all he had, right? They did kind of retroactively fix that because they tied it in with Can't Fear Your Own World. And so we at least know that Hikone can beat all of these Espadas up, because that's basically what we got from that. For the 5th-year anniversary with the Byakuya and the Ichigo, they did actually give us a full story event, and that was what I was expecting for Aizen, because that is actually how I got so much information to do those 2 videos about Byakuya and Ichigo last year, because I was like, they actually gave us a good, decent bit of lore to actually ascertain how strong these forms are and what they do. But for some reason, when it came to Aizen having this like new transcendental form, we basically got jack diddly squat. They literally gave us barely anything to work off with this guy. In fact, the information we do have is really not all that impressive. For instance, in the little event that we got for this new Aizen, what you do is you fight Aizen on Sokyoku Hill, then you fight 2nd Fusion Aizen, and then he just turns into this new version of Aizen with like no context. There's literally nothing to go off of for how strong this version of Aizen is, when last year we had a whole event, like Kisuke was talking about the form, Ichigo talked with his inner world Zangetsu, then he met Byakuya, he got to fight with base Byakuya, then Byakuya went into his new form, so we got a very good grasp on how strong the characters were. But for this Aizen to just go from like 2nd Fusion, who's like relative to Kisuke, Isshin, and Yoruichi, you know, I'm not going to get into that whole power scaling thing right here. But they're in that same general ballpark, right? Because they're able to scrap with one another, and then Aizen, like, really wins when he goes into the 3rd fusion. For him to go from, like, being there and then just get a new power-up with nobody to scale it to, it really doesn't give us anything to go off of. He has the line where he says, I transcend everything, but that's basically what 4th Fusion Aizen says anyway. 4th Fusion Aizen says, I've transcended all hollows in Shinigami, which is all they know at that point. If you want to say that, like, he's like, oh, I transcend everything, what that maybe adds, like, someone like Uryu, because they don't know about anybody like Yuha at that point. It's also debatable if Aizen even knows about the Zero Division and stuff at that point as well, so it's just like, if he's transcending everything, that's something that he's really already doing. It's barely any different from the normal 4th Fusion, and that's why I'm not, like, super high on the form, because this is literally just more of the same that we already have. Even if you start, like, looking at some of the little bit of lore that we do have, like, the profile for Aizen just reads as, this new form of Aizen, created to celebrate the 6th anniversary of Brave Souls, was born from the fusion of the Hogyoku's power and the power of his Zanpakuto. Again, basically already what, like, 4th and 5th Fusion Aizen were. It then just closes with it saying that Aizen smiles as he reaches for new heights beyond the heavens. So even with that, you can insinuate that he's not even above, like, the quote-unquote heavens, which would be, like, the Zero Division and everything. That's, like, the heavenly area in Bleach. So it's like, maybe this guy's not even beyond the Zero Squad or the Soul King at this point. Like, he's still just beneath them. Again, still kind of just relative to 4th and 5th Fusion. He has this new move that they gave him for this new form called Illusion Shattering Flower. But all it really does, if you read the description, is Aizen's foes fall into an illusion that causes immense damage and hits him with some status ailments. That's more of just like gameplay stuff. So really, there's nothing going on here with this new Aizen. The best that we were actually able to come up with, and this is funny because I was talking about this in my Discord, someone was like, hey, are you going to bring up this new Aizen's form? You're going to do a video on it? And I was like, yeah, I guess I'll do a video kind of just talking about how it's really disappointing and it doesn't really change anything for Aizen. And they were saying, well, in the free quest that you do after this, which a free quest in Bleach Brave Souls is a stage that has no story, it's literally just something for you to grind like 300 times in a row to get all the points and whatnot. They're like, well, the boss for that stage is Mugetsu. So they're like, if you want to just insinuate that this non-story stage having the boss be Mugetsu, but it's still for the Aizen event, maybe insinuates that this Aizen is now on the level of Mugetsu, like they're kind of on the same playing field now, I guess. Which is honestly probably the best argument you're going to get, because again, I know people were losing their minds. They were like, I transcend everything. They just lost their minds. But it literally doesn't mean anything more than what we already have. So you might just have to argue from like a gameplay perspective and be like, well, the boss happened to be Mugetsu, so, you know, maybe he scales to Mugetsu Ichigo. I don't know, that's like the best you're probably going to get. But again, you're going to have to argue from gameplay, which already tends to have a lot of issues, because then at that point you're like, well, I know that lore-wise, Arceus is stronger than a Weedle, but I used my Weedle to beat up an Arceus in-game, so I guess I have a, like, 1A Weedle now. Which, I mean, if you're fine with arguing from a gameplay perspective, that's fine. But usually we use, you know, story and lore to kind of establish how strong characters are. But I guess if you're trying to really get this Aizen to be anywhere to be impressive, I mean, you gotta really grasp at straws at that point. But I'm sorry that I had to come on this video and be a Debbie Downer and, you know, just kind of be depressing and be that guy that's like, come on guys, this new form really isn't anything all that impressive. It's just more of the same. You can maybe look at it as like an alternate evolution for the 4th fusion. That might be a way you could look at it. But again, with him only saying that he transcends everything, and with him already saying that he transcends all Hollow and Shinigami in the main timeline, it really doesn't mean anything different. It's like, yeah, buddy, you already were transcending everything. And I think the whack part is that he goes from 2nd fusion to this new fusion. So if you want to go timeline-wise, that would mean he actually got this new form before Dangai Ichigo ever appeared. Which means he wouldn't even be surpassing Dangai Ichigo, which means he actually might be weaker than the main timeline version. Because at least the 5th fusion version was able to, like, destroy Dangai Ichigo's arm. But I'll let you guys discuss that in the comments down below. Sorry for being the crusher of dreams again, but you know, leave that like, that subscribe, all that good stuff for more soul-crushing Bleach videos. I mean, I think it's fitting, but you know, with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace, late guys.